Swing State Update. It's great to be here with State Representative Austin Smith.
Episode 40.
This is 40. Wow.
Can you believe it?
No, not really.
They've hung around this long.
It's flown by. No, and thank you to everybody that's listening at home, whether you're watching on stream or you're with us in podcast. We appreciate you and following along and what's the key critical issues happening in the swing states, specifically Arizona,
Maricopa
Wisconsin, Georgia, and others. So today we got a jam-packed episode where we're going to kind of just get right into it. We're going to be talking quite a bit today about Maricopa County, about the slate that is come together.
A really good slate.
Yeah, a good slate.
A really good conservative slate.
I think the moderates and the bad guys were hoping that it wouldn't come together, and it has come together. And so
because we are organized.
Really?
They don't think we're organized, and we really are compared to where the Tea Party days were.
Really excited to share this because I mean this is the kind of stuff that will like send. Yeah, it kind of looks like Stephen Richards' top is already blown off, but this will really you'll start to see a lot of smoke come out.
He's going to be as bald as Chuck Coughlin.
He'll lose the rest. The rest of his hair will be quite literally on fire. Second, we'll talk a little bit about the RNC updates. A lot of people have asked me a lot of questions about the shakeups, what my take is. I tweeted today a really important tweet, so we'll kind of cover that subject matter. And then last but not least, we'll talk about the TikTok ban, what this means for young people, opportunities ahead, kind of a little bit of the debate about it, and then where this is going to go, hopefully for our swing states. So,
right.
Yeah, let's
talk Maricopa County really quick.
Yeah, can we throw up that graphic real quick, and we'll come back to this.
What a slate! Justin HEAP for Maricopa County Recorder. He's our guy. He's our pick.
Yeah, so let me explain real quickly, and this is good for other states too, because big counties have big problems, and
we have 4.5 million people that live here in Maricopa County.
Maricopa County is bigger, I think, than like 30 states or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's a lot. It's a lot of people that live in Maricopa County. It's one of the largest, the third or fourth largest in America.
And you win that county, you win the state here. I mean, winner take all pretty much.
And this is what's most critical. So this is what's happened to Los Angeles and other places. Too big. So Los Angeles County, believe it or not, at one point was a relatively moderate, even in some elements, a conservative county because it covered so much suburbs. That's been the story of Maricopa County. That's been the story of Fulton County for a long time. And now what we're seeing is the ugly reality of when you have a city that gets too big in the middle of your county, and it sends everything off the rails.
For just everybody back at home, one supervisor in Maricopa County, because there's 5 districts and there's 4.5 million people, so each supervisor represents more than your member of Congress.
Yes.
That's insane. How is that even a thing?
That was never intended. If you told Thomas Jefferson that today, he would lose his mind.
Right.
He would say, wait a minute, you have a county official that represents more people than Congress? And remember, when they first drafted the Constitution, I think it said that members of Congress were supposed to represent something like 30,000 people or something.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that ballpark. I think it's 20-something or 30,000 people. So, now, today, how many people does one member of Congress represent after the last one?
Close to 750,000-ish,
yeah, that's
right? That's where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, right in that ballpark. So 750,000.
Yeah.
So if I'm one of 750,000 people,
and sometimes some members of Congress represent 2 or 3 different counties, right? Or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7.
Yeah, a lot of area.
Yeah.
And so members of Congress, I mean, if you're one of 750,000 people, it's really hard to get a hold of the guy.
Right.
Right. Now, it was never intended where you had members of your county board that manage your county, because America was built on the backs of counties.
Right.
States were formed.
States built the counties, right?
Well, counties built the state.
Yeah.
Yeah. So counties formed in many cases way ahead of the states being formed, especially out west.
Right.
So Maricopa County was formed
1880s-ish. Yeah. Long time.
Mm-hmm. So Maricopa County had a sheriff long before we were a state. We had all these things.
Yuma,
so these
all
things,
those Cochise County, all those old ones.
Predate statehood.
Right.
And so you look at this and you go, wow, I don't think Thomas Jefferson or any of the founding fathers ever anticipated, a supervisoral district, a county district being 1 million people-ish.
And that's why we support and endorse the idea of splitting up the county, but we're not getting there, unfortunately, anytime soon. That's could have been done under Doug Ducey, but it's not. So now we have to put together a slate of an entirely new Board of Supervisors. Maricopa County government in general is terrible.
Well, and this is the thing. So people are losing their minds because we have a terrible recorder. His name is Stephen Richer. We talk about him semi-frequently. Not the best-looking guy on the planet, but more importantly, he's not a good recorder. Not conservative. Doesn't talk to conservatives. Doesn't show up to any Republican functions at all. Calls himself a Republican.
Correct.
Isn't even from the state.
No.
We told the whole story on a previous podcast. He showed up, rolled up into town, looking to run for office.
Red flag. Red flag.
Massive red flag. Redder than his hair. So this guy shows up, rolls up, and now gets in, lies to every conservative and says he's going to be the anti-Adrian Fontes. He turns out to be the BFF of Adrian Fontes.
Doing events with him.
Yeah, potentially recruited to run for this specific office, and that's why he showed up here. And now we're in a bad place because, he duped a lot of conservatives, and we can't have that go on. So I don't blame a lot of conservatives for being so livid that they're like, we need to find the most absolute perfect candidate to run. Well, in the quest for the perfect candidate, no one was stepping up to run because, again, Maricopa County is bigger than 30 states.
Right.
You need millions of dollars potentially to run for office countywide.
Very competitive.
And so there weren't very many good candidates. In fact, the only guy that was really running that had any kind of traction was bound to a wheelchair. His name's Don Hyatt. And many of the people who were allegedly really supporting him closely and encouraging him to run were still looking for another candidate. And that's when Justin HEAP stepped up, who's a member of the Freedom Caucus with you.
Yep. Great guy. We serve on the elections committee together, so we've gone through a session and a half now. He knows elections, and he's an attorney.
So he's an attorney. His cousin is Todd HEAP, who's in the NFL. So he played for the Cardinals.
Yep.
Ended his career with the
Cardinals.
And
he's from a really red district, which is important.
So he's from Mesa, which is LD10, which is one of the reddest districts in Maricopa County.
LD.
My LD where I live. And he is his dad actually ran against Bob Worsley.
Right.
So this is a lot of info. Just rewinding this back so you know a little bit about Justin HEAP. So this is going back. His dad ran against Bob Worsley.
Right, for Senate.
So his dad, Dr. Ralph HEAP, ran against Bob Worsley. Bob Worsley was the co-founder of Sky. What is it? Not Sky Mile. The magazine they used to have on the airplane. Whatever.
Sky Mall?
Sky Mall. I don't know why I just spaced there. Sky Mall. And so Bob was literally the establishment guy, running all the establishment crap, blocking all the conservative legislation. So back in the Doug Ducey days, when Doug Ducey didn't have a spine and he wasn't pushing for things, the guy that they would always go to help kill stuff, conservative stuff, was Bob Worsley. Mm-hmm. So Dr. Ralph HEAP ran.
We're gonna pull up a picture of Ralph HEAP right now. I was sent this week from Justin HEAP. He's the one replacing. He's holding a rattlesnake he caught in his garage earlier this week on Monday when we read
Love that guy.
So
that guy. So this guy ran. He had the balls to run against Worsley and almost beat him. It was just Bob Worsley had to spend $1 million+
Crazy.
to hold his Senate seat, and then he ended up just retiring, quitting. But this guy was the guy. So his son is Justin HEAP. Mm-hmm. So their family is super credentialed. They were supported by Russell Pierce, rest in peace, before he passed. He was a good family. And Justin said, you know what? I've already run for office, or I have some name ID. My family has some credibility. It's a short name. It's easy to remember.
Great on a sign.
He is rock solid. He's a lawyer. He's an attorney. He understands. He's been on the elections committee.
Yep.
With you guys. and he threw his hat in the ring, and I give him a ton of credit for that. Really a great dude.
Yeah, we can't wait. And then also, we have Clint Hickman, who is my current supervisor, is not running for re-election.
So before
District 4.
Before we get there, so Gina Godby here. Let's talk about the county attorney real quick.
Gina Godby, who's also in my LD.
So
Gina is one of my constituents.
Gina ran last time.
Yes.
And just didn't get enough traction. But a lot of people are not happy with the county attorney Rachel Mitchell because she's been doing again the same bidding of the Democrats. Really.
Right.
So Gina Godby here is great. So let's explain the supervisor situation. So in Maricopa County, like many counties, there's in most counties you have more than this. Arizona is really unique. We only have 5 supervisors per county. Some counties actually only have 3.
Yep.
So most have 5. The big ones have 5, but 5 isn't very many. It's more than
compared to 4.5 million people.
Yeah, you have almost 1 million people you represent in each district, and so all 4 Republicans right now are terrible.
Correct. That's an understatement.
None of them show up to anything Republican. They're best buddies with Stephen Richer.
They fight election integrity stuff all the time, and they have since 2020.
2 of them have decided to retire.
Clint Hickman and Bill Gates.
Bill Gates, right? And Bill Gates is probably the most moderate district.
Yes.
The most moderate Republican district, the most likely to go Democrat. Mm-hmm. And a large part thanks to him, quite frankly.
Right.
He's ticked off.
And the people who he surrounds himself with, that just like encourage that type of non-Republican behavior.
So Kate Brophy McGee, who we just saw,
This
Austin
week.
and I just saw it at a speaking event, is running for that position. She's been one of the most moderate members of the legislature.
I would argue liberal. She's liberal.
She's a liberal Republican.
Nothing personal, but she's liberal.
Probably not much better than Bill Gates, but is running for that seat. She's probably going to win the Republican nod. She's not on this graphic that we put up because we're not personally supporting her. But I will say this. She was saying some of the right things when she got up to speak to this group. I don't know if it's just giving people a false sense of confidence like, Stephen Richer did once upon a time.
She just doesn't have the credibility. I mean, I know she's campaigning, but I mean, I took it with a grain of salt personally. So
the remaining 3 places, so there's 5 supervisor positions. 4 are Republican.
Yep.
1 is Kate Brophy McGee's running to replace, the awful Bill Gates. So you have 3.
Bill.
So you have 3 positions left. The first is what Austin just brought up. So Clint Hickman,
District 4
of Hickman Farms, who produce a lot of eggs,
which is like all of Gila Bend, Buckeye, Goodyear, Litchfield Park, Surprise, Wickenburg.
It's the most rural part of
Glendale, Western Maricopa County. Yeah, it's massive.
Massive. It's mostly all throughout the desert. So when you're halfway driving through the desert to get into Phoenix, half of that's Maricopa County.
Yep,
still.
Coming east to west. Yeah.
So Clint Hickman is retiring. He said he's not running again, and 2 people have thrown their name. Basically, it's really 3.
There's only 2 that have filed, officially filed. I just was on it today.
Oh, okay.
There's only 2 on there.
So there's 2 that have filed. You have former Congresswoman Debbie Lesko, current Congresswoman Debbie Lesko, which is really weird that Debbie Lesko has decided, we can talk about the reasons why, that a Congresswoman decided to take a step down to run for supervisor.
She has more constituents now running with the supervisor spot.
We shouldn't laugh about that.
But it is true.
And the second guy is Dr. Bob Branch, who...
A great guy.
I believe he's a family practice guy.
No, I don't think he's not in medicine.
Oh, I thought he was medicine.
No, he's not in medicine. He's a professor at GCU.
Oh, okay. I thought he practiced medicine though, at one point.
He might have. I could be wrong.
Well, Dr. Bob has been long in the conservative wheelhouse in the West Valley. Mm-hmm. He's been a big conservative guy.
My parents have known him for a very long time.
Before
I got involved.
Good dude. In the other district that's across the valley in Scottsdale, you have Tom, who's currently the supervisor, right?
And he's not originally from
Tom
Arizona.
Galvin, not from Arizona. I know he went to school in Massachusetts, but he's been here for a long time. He's from New York. He was from New York. I think he grew up in New York.
Red flag.
But moved out here many years ago. So he's been in Arizona for quite some time. He once upon a time was an attorney at the Corporation Commission. So he was one of like the chiefs at the Corporation Commission. Worked for Brenda Burns, who we like Brenda. Brenda's pretty good. And then, wanted to run for some time and ended up running in this multi-way primary to replace. Was it a special election? I think it was a special election, wasn't it?
No,
it was a primary.
A primary.
It was a primary. It was a primary to replace the former guy that was in Scottsdale area, who was really well respected at the time, but then kind of got caught in between the crossfire of conservatives with the board, who ended up resigning. And he has not been a friend to conservatives either. Tom is not. I've known Tom for some time. Personally, at a dinner party, we get along with Tom really well, but
I'll tell you, for people at home, Thomas Galvin donated quite a bit of money to my primary opponent during the election last year. He doesn't support conservatives. Financially, he does not.
No, he's part of the problem. He is on the establishment, half Democrat side. And Tom's biggest issue is that he worked for a lobbying firm to help lobby for the Saudis to have access to our water.
The Fondamonte farm.
Yep. So in
La Paz County,
and they're now gone.
They just picked up and left too long ago.
Picked up and left, but Tom was at the epicenter of helping with that. And so I do hold people like that accountable. And people say, well, you can't really hold guys that work for lobbyists and and all this.
Can.
And yeah, you can. Yeah, he's an attorney. He worked for him, and he did that, and that's pretty crappy. So he deserves to go. And so you've got Michelle Ugenti-Rita, who has been mostly great throughout her entire career. She's been really tremendous. She's had a couple of little blemishes here and there, but has come back around and has worked really, really hard to talk to conservatives and be there and be right on the election integrity issues.
Yep.
And so she is challenging him. And she has a lot of name ID because she served in the legislature for about 10 years.
In the House and the Senate.
Yep. Yeah, in the House and the Senate. And so she was going to run for Secretary of State, ran. We all know what happened at our event. She was not well received because she made a mistake and got on the wrong side of an election integrity bill.
Yep.
And so a lot of people held her accountable for that, which was right. And she's trying to make it up, and she's running against Tom, and so she is the conservative in the race. She is the more conservative option.
I support her 100% for that race.
And then last, you have one of the other incumbents that's running. The guy is so bad that he went to the Biden White House to support Rusty Bowers getting a medal from Joe Biden
with Mark Kelly. So takes pictures with Mark Kelly's and posts them.
Yeah. So who is that?
Jack Sellers.
So Jack Sellers,
a real jackass,
is really nothing more than a glorified transportation lobbyist. His entire life has been built around transportation lobbying. And look, we got to have roads, we got to build them, we got to do all these things, and there's these guys. But should Saudi guys that represent the Saudi interests, should guys that own the largest farm in their community, should the guys that are transportation lobbyists, should they all be your supervisors?
Probably not.
Probably not. They probably have a lot of conflicted issues.
Jack Sellers was huge on the Prop 400 debacle this last year around, which we fought tooth and nail, but he was helped pushing it through the counties because the counties love taxing people. That's another thing. These guys have never decreased taxes in Maricopa County in the last 4 years that they've been on it. And they're all Republicans. That's like a basic party platform tenet, right, Tyler?
We don't even know. We don't know. Us. We don't know half of what these guys do with their free time. And let me lay this out for you. So these are the four guys on the Maricopa County board, and hopefully we cut this up and we put this in. But here are the four people on the Maricopa County board. You've got Bill Gates, who works for Ping, and is like.
Does he still work for Ping?
Yeah, he does.
Okay.
He does. That's part of the reason why I think he's retiring is because they forced him to quit. They are like, they do the bidding of the Chamber of Commerce. So you got the Chamber of Commerce interest. Bing! Then you have Clint Hickman, who runs literally the largest farm in the West Valley, maybe one of the largest
in the country
interest farms in
the country,
the state,
for sure.
and one of the largest in the Southwest for sure. You have Clint Hickman. So, he's your supervisor, and there should be, he probably has conflicts there too. 3, you have the guy that negotiated the Saudi deal, right, and giving our water away to Saudis and our land away to Saudis. That seems like a pretty incredible thing with Tom. And then you have this guy, Jack Sellers, who's literally a transportation lobbyist. He's going down wearing transportation lobbyist buttons and meeting with Joe Biden to applaud and congratulate our failed loser, former Speaker of the House, Rusty Bowers. Mm-hmm. That's your Board of Supervisors in Maricopa County.
Yep.
So Jack Sellers, again, guy running against him is named Mark Stewart. You know Mark?
Mark, Chandler City Councilman.
Chandler, he was a Ron Paul guy,
right.
Conservative.
So he's on the right path already.
Started from the right place, right?
Right?
And he's been in city council for some time now, for the better part of this last decade. And he's awesome. His awesome family, beautiful family, incredible dude. And he is taking on Jack. Jack used to be on the Chandler City Council too.
Yeah.
So this is a Chandler v. Chandler brawl. And Mark Stewart is a wonderful, wonderful guy. So he's the other guy on here.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, with that slate between Bob Branch, who's an extremely conservative guy, and then you have Michelle Ugenti-Rita, who has a lot of conservative bona fides, and then you've got the Chandler duel, right? And so it's going to be very interesting. We haven't had a Republican Party primary in Maricopa County in a while, because there wasn't one in 2020, right? Like, the field was cleared. So this is like the first one that we've had in 8 years, right?
I mean, for sure, up and down the slate. And again, so like if we go through this, I can just tell conservatives this right now. If you have Justin Heap, Gina Godbehere, you have Mark Stewart, you have Bob Branch, and you have Michelle Ugenti-Rita, Maricopa County is in a really great spot.
Yeah, it's a good slate.
And this is the year to do it, guys. If we can replace these people in the primary, right, then you're going to have a real shot with the presidential ticket going through.
That and in 2026. So these folks, the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, are responsible for election day voting in Maricopa County. They sign off on everything. Mm-hmm. They sign off all the plans. Mm-hmm. And so in 2026, we have Adrian Fontes is back on the ballot. He'll already be through running his second election at that time as Secretary of State, if he's still there. And Katie Hobbs as well. So it is super important that we have good people on the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors who just follow the law.
Well, and this is where, again, the questions of like, well, I mean, I'll tell you this. Our former Senate president, Karen Fann, she's not an ultra-conservative, guys. She never has been. You should ask Karen Fann what she thinks about the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors. Karen Fann, whose family also runs a very large construction contract, major construction business.
Roads.
They do roads and everything else. So she's she's not a person that's typically going to mix it up. She's not like one of your fringe right-wing people. Usually she's like a little bit of a go-along to get along type of a personality.
Yeah.
What Maricopa County did to Karen Fann in the Senate during the audit, where they were trying to hold things back, not providing information, not working together with people, not answering questions promptly, all of those things would horrify you. I mean, we haven't done a good enough job on the Republican side of sitting down with someone like Karen and saying, tell us what happened.
Right.
Tell us everything that's bad that you encountered with this group of people.
Yeah. And I've had conversations with Karen before about this when I was running, and I have a good relationship with Karen. She's always been very nice. And you're right, she's never been on like the further conservative track. She's always been the kind of go along to get along when she was in office. And her first
approach, by the way, she gets along with conservatives too.
Yes, totally. So, and she's come to our stuff before.
Totally.
She's been
she's wonderful, and she tries really hard, and she's really her own person, which I really appreciate.
Yes.
So, anyways, I didn't want to disparage.
No, you're right. And Karen does a great job. And so, like, I remember when the audit first happened, she was like kind about it. She's like, "Hey guys, work with us on that. We have thousands of constituents and millions of people across the country who are interested in Maricopa County. Work with us on this to fix our elections, to tighten them up, to do the audit," and they were just no from the beginning. So they actually encouraged and welcomed these primaries by not being open and accessible to conservatives. At the very beginning, they turned off Karen, they turned off us, they turned off everybody who just wanted to make elections better. And so now here we are in 2024 having to primary these guys because they didn't want to work with us after 2020. That's the reality. That's the reality.
And this is the warning for everyone that's outside the state of Arizona that's going like, why do I care about this? Da, da, da. This is literally the pathway that is going to exist for you if you're in a large county, especially a populous county, but even not a populous county. Even some of these counties, these smaller counties or moderate-sized counties are getting hijacked, and they can flip your state.
Yeah.
They'll flip your entire state. They will destroy your entire state vis-a-vis that large county. And that's the plan of the Democrats. The game plan that has been laid out by the Democrats is take over the largest county and try to flip the entire freaking state and destroy the entire state. And they will get your electoral votes.
Right.
They will be able to control all of your tax policy. They'll be able to control all the social policies that are going to invite in more liberals into your state. I mean, this is exactly what the game plan that they're following through with Boise, Idaho, with Salt Lake City. I mean, we can see it. Salt Lake City, people, it used to be a pretty moderate, whatever town, city. It's not even that big.
Yeah.
But they've dug their claws into it so deeply that now Utahns are freaking out. They're going, oh my gosh, if this doesn't get handled, it's going to flip the entire state.
Yep. So we have a good slate running. We got to support those people. Sign their petitions, donate, whatever. Really, just sign their petitions right now. We only got a couple weeks.
Get their petitions signed, because if they can get through this primary, get enough petitions signed, announce that they're doing it, and get the support of, I think, the president and other people, I think we're going to be on a good track to get more Republicans motivated to get out and vote.
Right.
What was my biggest fear is that if we let bad people win the primary, our voter turnout's going to be not as good.
Yeah.
Right? So our voter turnout is going to be lower because our people aren't going to be as excited to vote. Everything matters in this presidential election.
You want to suppress the vote, put Jack Sellers back on the
Jack Sellers and Stephen Richer. Stephen Richer is what is going to cause us to lose some votes, right? And we're going to lose votes as Republicans. So we can't let that
does not unify Republicans, that's for sure.
Let's go right to the clip as we talk about ballot chasing. Let's go right into the clip with Laura Trump. Clip 1.
And I can tell you at the RNC, we are already doing that. This is day 2 of me as co-chair of the RNC. I have a great team over there with Michael Watley as our chairman now. And I'll tell you, we're very focused on winning. And all the things you just laid out are things that we have to embrace as a party if we ever want to compete with the Democrats. If we want to win, we got to change the way we do things. We cannot just sit back and play the game the same way. You said it would be great if we had all those things. One day of voting, voter ID all across this country, paper ballots. Guess what? We could get there one day. But in order to do that, Donald Trump has to be elected as the 47th president. We have to expand our lead in the House, and we have to take back the Senate. So we are incredibly focused on those things at the RNC. Right now, we have the first ever election integrity division at the RNC. That means massive resources going to this one thing. If people out there, Sean, don't feel like their vote counts, they don't trust the system we have, then we are no longer the country we once thought we were. We will have trained poll watchers, poll observers, poll workers, people in tabulation centers all across this country. If you want to volunteer as a poll watcher, poll worker, or a volunteer lawyer, because we want those as well, DonaldJTrump.com, GOP.com. We want you. We can leave nothing to chance. We have to fight fire with dynamite in this election. We must win on November 5th.
How's she been so far, Tyler? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, TBD. So this was my tweet. So let's start with my tweet, and I'll kind of lead with that. And I'll read my tweet to those that are listening. The RNC is a deep-rooted culture in treating every outside group like an annoyance or an enemy. It will or would require a complete routing of the entire organization with strong leadership to change that. I hope this happens at the RNC and they start listening and working with outside groups. TBD. So, look, everything Laura's saying is right? So Laura's headspace is in such.
I love how aggressive that mindset is. That's so needed.
She's in a much better place than our former leadership, which was kind of just like, a lot of kick rocks around and, do nothing type mentality. But look, I mean, this is like every political office that exists, congressmen,
right,
members of school boards, legislators. You're only as good pretty much as your staff is.
Right.
In most cases, right? Like, I mean, legislators are a little bit different because you're hopefully involved with writing and pushing things and speaking out on behalf of it. But a lot of the research that's done, especially on the big votes and everything else, comes down to the staff.
Yeah.
A lot of the decisions,
Or a lobbyist gives you the information.
The information
Yeah.
is, and so most people who serve in office of any kind, whether it's party office or public office, are really reliant on the people who are around them. And so if you're surrounded by crappy people who do not give you good information, you're going to make bad decisions.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
So that's culture, right? So, and to me, it's even more important with culture, where it's like, hey, when something's not happening that's right? Something's not right for the movement, something's not right for our people.
Mm-hmm.
If the staff that's around you allows it to happen and doesn't say, whoa, we need to stop this, we need to reverse course, we need to do something that's a little more positive.
It's kind of like people who just get comfortable in those positions, right? It's like when you're stagnant like that, nothing changes.
Again, using the sports analogies all the time for people that watch sports, it's like a basketball game. My big Suns are playing tonight, playing the Celtics. So, hopefully that might be a finals matchup, I hope. We'll see if the Suns can get there. But it's just like the analogy, right? Which is like the game plan's not going right. You got to blow the whistle. Coach has to bring everybody in, change things up, talk to everybody, put his arm around the guy that's like having the hardest time, and find a way to win. And we never blow the whistle in the conservative movement.
Yeah.
Right? Like
people just take it too personal sometimes,
Well, they're just like either the coach is too scared, right, and never will blow the whistle.
I don't want to make that person upset.
Well, I don't want to. I want to rock the boat. I don't want to. It's kind of like one of those NBA teams where it's like the coach listens to the players more like LeBron than anybody else.
But it's not about you. It's about the movement. It's about everybody being successful.
Oh, and that's why the conservative movement needs a real leader, right? And that's why I said TBD. I think Laura has the gusto. She has obviously the last name to be able to call anybody up and tell them to slap them around a little bit. Will Michael Watley do that? I hope so.
Yeah.
Right. Ronna didn't. Right. That was part of my complaint to Ronna. It was like, hey, Ronna, we need money here for Blake Masters. Hey, Ronna, we need money here for our Senate race. Yeah. Will you call up, Mitch McConnell and slap him around? No. Right. Like she wouldn't do it. Hey, Ronna, we need help getting on the same page with Doug Ducey. Will you call Doug Ducey and slap him around? No.
It reminds me, like, no matter what somebody's opinion might have been of Kelly Ward, one of Kelly's philosophies when she was state party chair in Arizona was like, I'm supposed to be the butt kicker, not the butt kisser. And that's the total job of the RNC chair, and be like, dude, get it together. What are you doing?
And again, the butt kicker to those that are in office, right? Holding them accountable, pushing them to do the right thing and live by the
platform,
right? And not kick each other's butts all the time, and like not, attack people who are critical of you within your own organization or whatever else. I hope that what I think is most on the culture side of things of the RNC. I think the biggest problem within the RNC, within campaigns, is that people aren't surrounded by enough people who are willing to challenge them.
Agreed. Totally agree.
Like. One thing that we've done at Turning Point, is Charlie's surrounded by people who challenge him every day. I like to think that I'm surrounded by people who are challenging me every day. You're surrounded by people who are challenging you every day. And if you don't show up for work, what happens?
You get your butt kicked.
Yeah, people are gonna be like, what the heck's going on? Like, what do we need to do? Like, we need to step in. Something's wrong here. I don't get the impression from the previous administration, so not the current one, but the previous administration, that if the days where Ronna didn't show up, that she was getting her butt kicked, right? By people. Like, she wasn't being held accountable by her own people.
Part of it too is like you mentioned, the culture part of it. It's work. Like, look how long it took us to get to certain points at Turning Point, just the ecosystem. Couple years, and it took a lot of hard work, and it's not easy.
And we're just one corner of the party, right? So we're one corner of the conservative ecosystem. Everybody should have, like, I tell people this all the time. They're like, I'm like, you just disagree with us. That's fine. Like, do your own thing. Like, build your own thing, like Turning Point, right? Like, you can
do your moderate, whatever, equivalent to Turning Point.
Like, we're helping drive and turn out conservatives, and the numbers show it, because young people support Donald Trump more than old people do.
Right. And young males are becoming much more conservative.
Young males are much more conservative.
I call that the Turning Point arc now.
Yeah, we may win the youth vote this year for the first time ever. So, like, I do think we deserve some credit for that, and it's not, we're not there yet, so we're not going to pat ourselves on the back until we win. But, like, this is where it's like we need dozens of organizations that do their own thing, that help do one thing and one thing alone. turn out more votes for our side,
Yeah.
right? And so
Which is like has totally been neglected. And I know we've always believed this. It was like every conservative needs to vote. Like there's no reason to neglect them in a general election. This doesn't make any sense. If you want to lose, if you want to suppress voter turnout, right? And that's the problem that the right has had in general. Is just no, we don't need conservatives to vote. No, we need every conservative to vote every time.
Yeah, and this is where, like, the biggest challenge is, right, is explaining to people is like, guys, the way that the left functions is they're not obsessed with each other. They do their own thing each, and they all help uplift one another. Even when they disagree about stuff, they uplift each other because they realize that our side has to win more than the other side. And so that's really the lesson that has to be taught and learned. And it's like, and that's why it's really hard, man. It's really hard. And Austin and I know this. It's really hard to just put your head down and do your own thing. Mm-hmm. Like even this last week had some people that were like, not giving you guys as much love for something that's going on and what you're doing. And, I just have to look myself in the mirror and be like, okay, whatever. I'm just going to put my head down and we're going to do our thing and work. Right. Because ultimately, the best thing that could ever happen for the movement is more people see what we do and then replicate it.
Right.
And this comes down to people are listening right now.
Yeah.
People are like, what do I do? Well, get going on your street.
Yeah.
Like, don't wait for permission from people.
Precinct committeeman. Just turn in your form
on your street.
Yeah. Go turn out your vote or your plan to vote. Make it a religious thing, a holiday for you,
Become a precinct committeeman. Get involved. Join one of our coalitions.
Right.
Do something special on your street. Nobody's stopping you.
Right.
The country is not going to be saved by somebody that's like, oh, well, I didn't know or I didn't have permission.
Or the timid ones. I don't know if I can do that. Yeah, you can.
Guys, nobody that fought in the revolution was asking permission from.
We all would be
Daddy George.
We would really like to spend, every weekend in 30A, but we can't right now. We have to save the country, okay? I'd love to be at 30A, but I can't right now.
So last topic here. Hang on. We're diving right into this. I think we're talking TikTok.
TikTok being banned.
Do we have another clip?
We have Charlie talking about the TikTok ban.
Let's go into Charlie's clip.
But it seems as if this is the formula in recent political times. We see an issue, we react to it, and we get less freedom and liberty. That is the equation every single time. Would this be different? I don't know. I see good arguments on both sides. I don't want TikTok to have an uninterrupted superhighway into the minds of the future of America.
So let me give you a different spin on this that I started touching upon in Thought Crime. So if you catch this week's Thought Crime, you're going to see it. This is really for you because you're a state legislator. And this is where the swing states come in, and many states, no matter what state you're in, this really matters. So there's a really important thing to hold the social media companies accountable. One really important thing, and that's antitrust laws. So antitrust laws, right? So antitrust laws. So these laws that really need to put into effect. So they've let basically free reign go on Apple, Google,
right,
and Facebook. And this is probably one of the biggest issues that exists, is that many of our states have no way to combat the social media,
the giants
purging,
right.
The big tech giants, without taking away their ability to have free reign over what they charge people, how they control that. Right. And so if you take that power away from them, they start freaking out. And that's how you can hold balance. And most of our states, our red states, have not done a good enough job at this. Starting to hold Google and Facebook accountable by saying, and Apple, by saying, we're going to take away your ability to just control how you charge people, pay. So when you subscribe to things, you know how it says like Apple Pay and everything else?
Yeah.
You have to use it. You have to use Google Pay, you have to use Samsung Pay, you use the Apple Pay. If you use their devices, they could, the legislature could take away that power, right? And say, hey, you have to make this available for anybody to have access to your payment. And the big tech companies are freaking out about this.
Yeah.
Well, TikTok we don't really control at all because they're in China,
Right.
right? And so they're really just beholden to Washington D.C. and that's it. So there's good and bad. I agree. I tend to agree with all the conservatives who are opposing the TikTok ban.
Yeah.
So most every conservative I trust says that this is not the way to do it.
I'm going to try to pull up Andy Biggs' tweet because he had something good.
So Andy Biggs, everything else, right, is saying no. This is stupid. This is a very bad way to go about this. It gives way too much power to the executive branch.
Yeah.
But Biden could potentially use this against us ahead of the election, and they'll be like, "Oh, sorry."
Well, I'm always hesitant because I've been in the legislature now and I've voted on bills. When a bunch of Democrats are on something that's like a huge issue, I'm always hesitant.
You should pause.
We're pulling up the Andy Biggs.
If Nancy
tweet
Pelosi
really quick.
likes it,
Yeah,
you should
no.
probably give it a lot of.
So this is what Andy Biggs said. This bill is not a serious attempt to thwart China's influence or data collection in the United States. It's a micro step that only gives the appearance of protecting Americans from adversarial nations while doing little more than forcing divestiture of China's ownership in the data collection company. Touting this as a win while China controls our supply chains and our access to critical minerals, facilitates the flow of fentanyl into our country, and owns our national debt is almost laughable. Not to mention that they'll continue to have access to the same data collected by TikTok through other sources. It's time we get serious about restoring our independence from China and truly protecting Americans' privacy from both foreign and domestic spying agencies. I agree with Andy.
And so what Andy's saying here is like, look, China could just F us in some other way.
Right.
And in response to this.
Correct.
And we should be looking at the foundational issues with China first and like holding them to account, especially on the economic issues, before we are like making this like silly like little Band-Aid on TikTok.
Right.
And look, by the way, I'm a guy, I haven't had TikTok on my phone.
Me neither.
I haven't downloaded it. I watch it, when things are sent to me online. I don't subscribe to it. They don't track me. But I don't know if this is the best solution.
I don't either. There's a bigger conversation than policy issues for when it comes to this TikTok stuff.
But I would feel more finding it along these lines if we go back to the antitrust law issue, right?
Yeah.
To the debate. If Republicans were actually holding big tech to account to begin with, and they were doing that already in the states, especially the deep red states, I would feel much better about having a conversation about where to move TikTok, right? Making them have to play by all of our rules. At this point, it's like, look.
And there's been like this conversation. I've seen some conversation on X with some conservatives and some people that I know were populists that I've had the conversation with. They're like, this is a good step. It's going to like maybe depress the young vote for Joe Biden. And I really disagree with that because leftists will still crawl across shattered glass to vote against Donald Trump. Like, you got to think that, like, it really doesn't matter. We're going to get this perception that we're doing something on TikTok. But really, I agree with Andy. Like, we haven't actually done substantial work to rein in these giant tech companies.
And more importantly, we're not holding the CCP accountable at all. We're not, the Republicans are going to flub this, right? Because most Republicans ended up joining the Democrats on this. And so we can't even now hold them accountable to say, hey, look, it's all or nothing, basically, right? Like, if we should, and this is how we should operate, really. It's everybody goes all in and goes, okay, this is the best ban. We've been saying this and take it as a win. Or we all say no, and Joe Biden's trying to take away TikTok. That would really hurt him right now. He's already hurting with young people. And I'm not saying that, we should disagree with it, any kind of future about holding TikTok to account. But, like, guys, this is a political year. We should be trying to hold, like, screw Joe Biden.
All the leverage you can get.
Every single chance that we get, and we're not doing that. There's no message, no message coming out of a Republican Congress. No message coming out of our Republican senators. It's just divide. Or
the Republican governors who sign antitrust laws,
And the legislatures, and we're not seeing anything, any kind of form. And it's like, guys, where's the leadership here?
This is simple stuff, guys.
It really is. Just leadership on one issue at a time, getting everybody on.
That's right.
And talking about it and saying, look, no, here's our plan for how to hold TikTok accountable. And by the way, Joe Biden sucks because he's trying to take it away from you.
Yep.
Nobody said that this week. Nobody
Yeah.
like I haven't heard that from Speaker Johnson. I haven't heard that from anybody. Like that. Like this is what happens when you go along to get along. Not really sure.
People don't like pain. They don't like that rocking the boat stuff. It's painful for some people, unfortunately, and don't elect those people. You want people who are fighters.
Well, we'll wrap up here. It's been a good week. We have this next week. We are starting to really dive into our building. So right now, Austin Smith is at the epicenter of building our teams in Arizona and Wisconsin. We want to involve. Many people have messaged us, have emailed us. You can go to tpaction.com/chase to get involved. Sign up now so that we can contact you when the time is right to get involved with upcoming events for ballot chasing. We are hiring full-time people right now, right, Austin?
We're hiring hundreds of people right now. Big shout out to our managers here in Arizona. We're doing dozens and dozens of interviews a week. We're on a good track.
Yeah, and all of them are doing great. Preston, Jeanette,
Cynthia.
Cynthia's crushing it.
She's a warhorse.
So we're going out, and we have dozens of others who we're hiring right now. We will ultimately have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of bodies specifically to be assigned to specific precincts to chase specific ballots. We know where the ballots are. This is different from anything that's ever been done before. No one has ever put full-time bodies in these places before.
Yeah.
We're putting our money where our mouth is. We're raising the money. So Charlie and I and Austin and others, our team, Justin, nobody's sleeping right now while we raise the money to support this work.
TPAction.com/careers. There's dozens and dozens and dozens of places that we need to fill these positions in the Valley and Wisconsin.
Very specific places.
Very specific places that we have identified where there's chaseable ballots that will make the difference in winning this election.
And people will be assigned those houses, assigned those people to build relationships and make sure their vote gets out. It's the number one thing that freaks out Democrats.
Right.
The number one thing that freaks out the left right now is they're looking at the polls and they're saying Joe Biden down 6, 7, 8 points in some of these states. And they're looking at this and they're going, wow. And the Republicans are for the first time actually doing what we do.
Yeah.
That's scary to them.
Yeah.
And so you want to be part of that? You want to help us win? Go to tpaction.com/chase. We need you today. We also need you if you are volunteering to join our coalitions.
Yes. And we have all kinds of coalitions. Farmers and ranchers, moms, healthcare workers, educators, Latinos, Faith Coalition, anything that sparks your interest that you're passionate about or that you have credibility with, go check out our coalitions. Our team does a great job across the country hosting events, hosting training. So tpaction.com/coalitions. Check out everything we have there. There is definitely something for you in our newest initiative.
I love it. I love it.
Oh, and then remember, next week, presidential preference in Arizona.
Arizona has this president. Georgia just got finished this last week. We didn't even talk about it.
Yeah.
President Trump won with 84% of the vote.
Wild.
Just kicked major butt. We expect similar results here in Arizona now that there's no one that's
now that they're still on the ballot, but they're not running, so it's not going to matter.
So it's probably going to end up being a similar result. But now it's just full-fledged. The primaries are effectively wrapped up in the key target states that are the most important, critical here. And we're going to be trudging ourselves forward here to the primaries and then the general election. If you, again, can't say this enough, if you want to be involved, there's 2 travel times that you got to think about this year for vacation. Number one, we want you to join us in Michigan for the People's Convention. So we're doing this about a month before the National Convention for the RNC. The People's Convention, we are inviting everyone, every activist in America to participate. This is June 14th through 16th in Detroit, Michigan. We're going to have, I keep saying with Lauren, 99 trainings. We're going to have 99 trainings. And so that everybody's going to be taking away what needs to happen, what we need to do heading into this next election cycle. And the second thing to get for vacation is take a week or 2 off in October and come to Arizona or come to Wisconsin.
It's going to be beautiful in Arizona in October.
Arizona, after October 7th, we will be in the midst of ballot chasing.
Yep.
Ballots will be on people's counters, and we need your help. And we will put you to work. We'll show you what to do. You can go with family. You can go with friends. We need everybody to chase 10 ballots per day.
There's 4.5 million people that live in Maricopa County. Plenty of voters to contact.
If we had thousands of people come to Arizona to help collect ballots, it would make it really difficult for the Democrats to win. We've put together what we believe is going to be the process for doing that.
That's right.
And you will have a heck of a time out here with us, with our team.
We have plenty of work to do to save the country.
Yep.
Arizona, Wisconsin.
Yep. We need your help. So with that, we'll wrap up. Austin, it's good to see you. Good luck at the legislature.
Pray for us, but we're happy to be there.
Come join us. Join our team. I hope you'll join the Turning Point Action team. If you know anyone that wants to join our Turning Point Action team, tpaction.com/careers. tpaction.com/careers. Until next time, we'll see you guys. God bless.
Later.